Music is a difficult subject to talk about. You can't just praise or criticize any music without someone complaining. You can't just call someone's music garbage and put your own on a pedestal and expect everything to be okay. Which is why I'm not talking about the quality of music today. I'm talking about marketing, finding your product's audience and getting it to them. And nothing I've seen has done this better than the virtual band Gorillaz. Gorillaz is a band that has been changing the way people look at music ever since their hit single Clint Eastwood blew up in 2001, and again with Feel Good Inc. in 2005. Their outstanding uniqueness, the amazing way they are able to blend so many genres together in one song, their unreplicable animation, it all stood out from the rest. And all of it goes towards the band's publicity, how people learn about it, how it appeals to them, and what keeps them hooked. And it works, as their albums combined have sold over 15 million copies worldwide. So how do they do it? When it comes to Gorillaz, there's 6 things about it that help it appeal to as many demographics as possible. To find these 6 things, I'll be going through their history over the years to see just exactly what it is that can grab someone's interest in this band. Let's start at the beginning of the timeline, 1988. Damon Albarn, Graham Coxon, Alex James, and Dave Rowntree formed a band named Seymour, which is later changed to Blur. Blur's music consisted of mostly alternative rock and Britpop, and it's still going on today. In the same year, Jamie Hewlett, Alan Martin, and Philip Bond are commissioned by British publisher Deadline to produce a series of comics for their upcoming magazines. The 3 of them created Tank Girl, a graphic novel about a rebel in a post-apocalyptic world. And the comics were a huge success that helped kick off Deadline. And in 1990, these 2 works would collide when Graham Coxon wanted Jamie to interview Blur because he was a big fan of his work. This is where Jamie and Damon would meet each other for the first time. Flash forward to 1997. Damon and Jamie are now roommates living together in London. One night, the 2 are watching MTV and notice there's nothing too interesting about it. In an interview, Jamie said, quote, "If you watch MTV for too long, it's a bit like hell. There's nothing of substance there. So we got this idea for our cartoon band, something that would comment on that." End quote. This was the thought that was going to slowly evolve into Gorillaz. And here you have the first 2 pieces of its demographic, the co-creators and the animation. First off, fans of Blur will be sure to look into the other members' works, which could lead them to finding about Damon's work on Gorillaz, and the same way with Tank Girl fans looking into Jamie's work. And even then, if you aren't that big a fan of their works, you could still recognize Damon's voice in the music's vocals and the art style Jamie uses in the videos. For example, my dad's always been a big fan of Blur, and he told me that he found Gorillaz when the radio station was playing 19-2000, and he immediately picked up on Damon's voice in the song. Secondly, you got the animation aspect of it. Gorillaz was created with the idea that there could be something new, interesting, and unique to get from music and music videos that would differ from the norm and stand out. So they created these 4 characters to represent the band itself: Tootie, Murdoch, Russell, and Noodle. Each was given their own unique design, story, and personality, and kids loved it. It was 2001 and animation was at one of its high points.
Catch Nick's brand new Nicktoon, The Fairly Odd Parents, coming up next, only on Nickelodeon.
So the idea of a band that was all cartoon characters would definitely grab the attention of a good percentage of children. And not only kids would be interested, but animation fans too, as it was a pretty unique thing for the animation world at the time. Not to mention that it was some damn good animation as well.
Time's elimination, then we got nothing to lose. Please repeat the message.
Next on the timeline is March 26, 2001, the release of their self-titled first album, Gorillaz. Both Tomorrow Comes Today and Clint Eastwood had already been released prior as singles, which got people interested in buying the album. The album's release marked the start of Phase 1, Celebrity Takedown, and boy was it a good album for them to start out with. Because of the album's contents, this brings me to the next part of the demographic, genre variety. Gorillaz is a band that doesn't really stick to one specific genre. On each album there's a huge array of different styles of music that they put their own take on. The first album alone had quite a few different genres and subgenres in its songs, ranging from rock on punk and M1A1 to rap on Clint Eastwood and Rock the House.
Picture you getting down in a picture too, like you lit the fuse. You think it's fictional, mystical, maybe spiritual. Hero who appears in you to clear your view when you're too crazy.
To alternative on 19-2000 and slow country.
Get the cool shoe shine. Get the cool shoe shine.
And somehow they all fit together. The album sequencing also shows a lot of great use of mood whiplash between songs. TV Trope describes it best here. On the self-titled album, the clanging, ominous Man Research Clapper is followed by the frenzied and upbeat Punk, which in turn leads into the slow-building dub Soundcheck Gravity. Their albums provide a lot of variety from track to track, which invites fans of all kinds of music to join in and listen, no matter what kind of music. And I haven't even started to go into the other albums. For example, Demon Days adds dance music, blues, and hip-hop, Plastic Beach adds orchestrals, techno, funk, and pop, and The Fall is pretty much just a straight-up electronic album with elements of country. With all these wide varieties of music, everyone's bound to find at least one song they like by Gorillaz.
Feel the impact.
Moving on in the timeline, some extra things happen. Rock the House in 2000 became singles, and from all the single releases, they made a B-sides compilation album called G-Sides. After that, Phase 1 had ended, and things got pretty quiet. Until December 8th, 2004, when the band's official website released a music video for an all-new song, Rocket. Although Rocket wasn't on the upcoming album, it was still a sign of things to come. Which they did, as this was the start of Phase 2, Slow Boat to Hades. On May 24th, 2005, the second Gorillaz album, Demon Days, was released, and it would ultimately be the peak of their success. It featured artists such as MF Doom, Sean Ryder, and De La Soul, among several others. The album sold moderately well for a while, until May 9th, the day that would forever change Gorillaz history and music's history. The day Feel Good Inc. was released as a single. Feel Good Inc. was the song that brought all fans of music together. It mixed elements of pop and alternative in the chorus and main verses, and featured many dark tones throughout the song. And then you had the hip-hop part break in with a rap from De La Soul after the chorus. That's 3 different genres primarily featured in one song, and it was the biggest success they ever had, and it was soon certified gold in the US, and platinum in both Australia and the UK. I know it really isn't an aspect of it, but I believe Feel Good Inc. counts towards what makes their demographic so large. The song's massive success from the moment it was first played on the radio was what rocketed Gorillaz' popularity and got a double platinum certification for Demon Days. Demon Days' success continued, and they released more singles. Dare, Dirty Harry, Kids with Guns, and El Mañana were chosen as the album's other singles. And just like that, Phase 2 was over. They released their second B-side compilation album in 2007 titled D-Sides, and then after that the band went quiet once again. However, during this quietness, Damon and Jamie started working on a new, major Gorillaz project titled Carousel, that was unfortunately scrapped a few years later. However, not all the parts of it were lost, as some of the songs intended for the Carousel project would eventually be rehashed into their next studio album. On March 3rd, 2010, the third Gorillaz album, Plastic Beach, was released. Plastic Beach was a hip-hop and pop hybrid album with heavy tropical themes throughout. It featured a whole new set of collaborating artists, including Bobby Womack, Mos Def, Lil Dragon, and Snoop Dogg himself.
Gorillaz and the Boss Dog, Planet of the Apes.
Which brings me to my next point, the collaborators. This point is similar to my first point about fans of Damon and Jamie's personal work, but on a much larger scale. To reiterate, if someone is a big enough fan of someone's work, they'll likely look into their other projects. And Gorillaz has had so many different collaborators that it's crazy, ranging from rappers like Snoop Dogg and Deltron to electronic artists like James Murphy and Lil Dragon, to actors like Dennis Hopper and Bruce Willis. For example, say you're listening to Snoop Dogg's album Dogumentary and you come across the song Something Like This Night. When it gets to the chorus, you hear a featuring artist that doesn't sound very familiar to you at all.
Try to smoke with you. Something like this.
You look at the back of the CD and it says featuring Gorillaz, so you look that up and wham, you're into Gorillaz now. The overwhelming amount of Gorillaz collaborators opens up so many branches of different artists that it's possible to discover Gorillaz by listening to Bruno Mars. I know it's a stretch, but think of it as working the same way as the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon does. The 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon is a joke game based on how many movies Kevin Bacon's been in. To get an actor's Bacon number, you have to find a project that actor was in and see who else was in it. Then you hop from actor to actor until you find something with Kevin Bacon in it. So for example, Kyle Massey has a Bacon number of 3. Kyle Massey was in Senior Project with Tatiana McClain, who was in Helicopter Mom with Jason Dolly, who was in The Air I Breathe with Kevin Bacon. So with music, Bruno Mars once collaborated with Eminem on the song Lighters, and Eminem is part of a rap hip-hop group called D12, who collaborated with Gorillaz on the song 9/11. It's just so open to different ways to discover it that the most enthusiastic fans of music will find Gorillaz one way or another. I'd like to close this video with my final point. Gorillaz is such a unique accomplishment for music. Different types of artists from all over the world joining together to create so many different styles of music and using it to stand out from the norm. Structuring this project to get so many people interested is in itself the final piece of what makes Gorillaz' demographic so large. How unique the idea is. To summarize my points, Gorillaz' demographic is molded by its widely large collaborative range, its different ways of interpreting different styles of music and music video, and its association with pop opening up average consumers to the library of music. So, until this new album is released in 2017, I can now consider the virtual band Gorillaz to be media genius.